The Bible has a message for the man who feels like he's behind in life. You feel like everybody's doing big things except for you, right? Bro, if you just give me 2 minutes to read this Bible to you, I think it'll change your mind. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 says, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and there's a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to gain and there's a time to lose, a time to keep, there's a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war. There's a time of peace. Let me break this down in street terms. Everything is in God's will, bro. You are not in control, which means that you're in the proper season at the right time because God judges all things accordingly. Let me break this down. There's a time to be born, there's a time to die. People are going to come, people are going to go. Get over it. There's a time to plant and it's a time to pluck what's planted. There's going to be seasons in your life where you're going to be investing and you're not going to see no returns. Then there's going to be seasons where you're going to eat off of the things that you invested in 5 years from now. There's going to be a time to break down and build up. You went through a whole season where you was building something that you thought was going to work and you got to tear the whole thing down and start back over again and you got to rebuild this thing up. Get over it. It's going to be a time to weep and a time to laugh, bro. You're going to cry in this season, especially if you're doing something big. But you're also going to have them seasons where you laugh because you cried, because you was working hard, because you were trying, bro. There's going to be a time to embrace and then there's a time to refrain from embracing, right? It's time for you to love people and it's time for you not to show love right now because you locked in. There's going to be a time for you to lose and there's going to be a time for you to keep. You're going to take L's, bro, because if you're building anything, you're going to take the L's. But you also are going to keep too, bro. And it's a time to keep silence and it's a time to speak. It's times where you need to just close your mouth and learn. And my favorite one is that there's a time for war and a time for peace. There's a time where the enemy's going to try to check you and you're going to have to defend yourself. But then there's times where you make peace and you cool, right? Like I'm in a good place in my life right now. You're right where you need to be. Respect the seasons. Share this with a brother who needs it.